Welcome to Women and Work, the show where we examine the real life challenges of women climbing the corporate ladder, growing their own business, or navigating the complex juggle of career and kids. I'm Diane Mocha, founder and CEO of the Mom Sub Childcare app, and I'm digging deep with our guests to explore how women like you can change the way work can fit your life. Today, I'm talking with Jen Mendoza, a community leader who has run a lot of different organizations, ranging from the Chamber of Commerce to a women's entrepreneur group to a nonprofit that gave women a place to sell their own products. And she's done all that while raising her 3 kids.
3.
Jen, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Being a role model to other women, especially working women with kids. Yeah. With all that you've done, what do you think has been the biggest struggle for you as a working woman?
Oh, the main struggle, I think, would be just the time commitment that it takes, depending on the timing of the start of your day to the finishing of your day to the duration of the time that you're actually going to be at your place of business. You know, if some require travel or weekends or evenings or something just kind of like spur of the moment, you've got to kind of pivot and figure out what it is that you're going to be able to do for the kids. If you don't necessarily have a significant other to help, or if you do, but they're not available because of their own work schedule. Mm-hmm. So I think that's probably been the most difficult. And I've experienced pretty much every single one of those instances. That's where I bring that up.
And that pull of constantly feeling like, you get a ping and it's work and it's like, you're a high achiever, I should deal with this, and then the kid's going, come on, I thought you said we were going to go outside and go roller skating today, and you're like, what do I do? The classic mom guilt, right? We don't hear about dad guilt, but every mom I've ever talked to that has kids says that they've experienced mom guilt. So how do you cope with it?
So I do try to have them always understand and explain, what it is that I'm expected to do. And, if it allows that I'm able to bring them with, I'll bring them with. If I'm able to get someone to come cover and watch them for me while I do it, I will. Or sometimes they just, as through the years as they've gotten older, they understand. But it was a little bit more difficult when they were younger because they didn't understand. And I would kind of have to persuade and kind of make a, if we do this, then, if we postpone or, reschedule, then you'll get this in return, So it was kind of like just needing to make that kind of deal with them, but it changes as they get older and it's more understanding. And I think that my kids have very well been able to see the progression of the things that I do and that they see the fruits of the labor, and respect the things that I do and understand now.
We can go on this trip because mommy's job helps pay for it, sure. Right? Yeah.
Or that you get to do XYZ because...
Dance classes. Right. Yeah. Yeah, because we have the income from mom and dad. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So when you were young, did you have a very specific career trajectory in mind? Did you think, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that and I'm going to be a working mother? And what were your images then? And has it come true or has it changed over the years?
Yeah, so no, I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do, but I knew that I did want to go to college and do something. It was always something that had to be very purposeful, mission driven for me. I was very set on making a difference in whether, whatever community or a difference in the world. It just needed to be something that I could feel very accomplished with, and that's something that my future children would feel the same, feel that energy and that passion to do something, something like that, or at least find their spark to do something. Yeah, when I was very young, I had a passion for ancient Egypt and Egyptology. So I literally went to college for anthropology. Did cultural studies, multicultural studies. I was planning on traveling and teaching English in Japan, and I met my husband, and I mean, that just took things to a totally different path, but not the wrong path by any means, because I did plan on having a family. But so then, the work that I did throughout my college career kind of led me to the nonprofit realm of things. And that's kind of where I've found most of my career has been in the nonprofit sector. And, once moving to Aurora, I really ingrained myself in the community, and different opportunities just kind of presented themselves as I got more involved with different organizations and different groups of people that just kind of led me to, my advances throughout my career.
Anthropology. Wow, that's so interesting. So you probably thought, I'll do this first, and then later in life, I'll get married and I'll have kids. But it doesn't always work out, right? You meet the love of your life and you're like, well, okay, maybe I adjust. And then a child came along, and then another child came along, and then another child came along. So did your career ideals change? Obviously, they changed, like you said, when you met your husband. And so you kind of went towards this nonprofit. But even the things that you were doing, the time that you were devoting, did it change after each child or not?
I mean, it shifted, but I was always very driven to know that I was going to be doing something for a certain amount of time until I would be freed up to do something more, as it became more available for me. So, actually, the day after I applied for grad school, once I moved out to Aurora, I found out I was pregnant the day after. So I had that moment to decide, is this something I want to pursue, or should I maybe hold off? Well, I didn't hold off, and I had 2 kids by the time I had finished my undergrad. And I was working full-time at World Relief, helping both the Aurora location and the Wheaton location at the time, and loved being a part of that organization because of all the cultural exchanges and helping resettling refugees, and still, being ingrained in the community and going to school, at night, and raising the two kids I had under 2 at the time.
Wow.
So it was a lot.
Wow. Those had to be some stressful years.
They were.
So working full-time for a nonprofit. So it's not like big bucks. I mean, very meaningful, but and then you're married. So you got to spend some time with your husband too. 2 young kids. And then night classes to get a grad degree. So this isn't just throwaway classes. This is master's degree type classes. So what were some of your childcare challenges then? And how did you deal with them?
We had our 2 in a preschool, and that posed a lot of different issues, because if someone gets sick, they've got to get picked up, and then the other one got sick. And so I was constantly being called to get, to pick the kids up.
Why not your husband?
Because he worked in Chicago and I was more local. So that was kind of always the thing too. I mean, that's kind of how it went. I had another job that required me to leave and travel a couple times out of the year, which was something that I could do while the kids were young before they got into school, because I could have a family member stay with them.
So you had a village.
Very small.
A small
very,
village.
very small village. But we made it happen, and then now that they're older, I've been able to give more of my energy and time with less restrictions. But I mean, they're still there too, because the oldest is only 13 and the youngest is 9. So
were you ever scrambling, like, the neighbor or someone you knew that was a babysitter? Can you go pick up? Can you stay with the kids? So you did a little of everything.
Always.
Not just the preschool and the husband or
most
the family
definitely.
member. Just
No, it was everyone.
always looking for building up that village, building
Always.
up that village.
Yes.
And I know we were going to originally meet last week, and your kids had an institute day, and you said to me, well, I can come and do this, but I have to bring the kids. And you knew I would immediately say yes.
Of course.
Yes. But I wonder if you would have asked that question of anyone. Are there certain situations where you feel like I can't, I shouldn't? And do you wish that was different?
Oh, most definitely, because that opportunity, may not come along, every so often. So if that's an opportunity that you would have been able to speak with someone, get their voice out there, whatever the topic may be, if they had children and didn't feel that they could necessarily bring them with, or maybe they're even younger, than my kids, then they would have just right away just maybe said, no, sorry, I can't do it. Kids are out of school. And I know plenty of moms, working moms, that's exactly what they would have said, for sure.
That they would have just maybe not even asked.
They wouldn't even, yeah.
They
would
have
have
been
just
like,
said, sorry,
"It's
can't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I know you came to an event here where we said, we want this to be open to women who have kids, and we're going to have a separate area where the kids are going to get some enrichment and be safely, supervised, and you can still come and do networking, and we want to have more of this in the community. Do you think that women miss out because they just don't even try to ask, find other alternatives? And, how do you feel about sort of presenting those alternatives and making them more available?
I think that there's a lot of people. I think that maybe more so now, there may be less people that will at least attempt and ask the question of the possibility. But I think that there are still a lot of women who will just kind of brush off the opportunity. I think that, when it comes to just within our own, my kids' school, the schools that they're involved in, it's a new thing that you could come to the PTA meetings, and now they have on-site, childcare, so that parents can be more proactive with the PTA and things happening at the school. And I would have loved to have had that, some few years back, but I see the progression, and I think that that's a wonderful step. I mean, if more places can allow that, then I think that that's just better for all, because the kids will maybe be getting some interaction with some other kids that maybe they wouldn't have gotten, and so then they get to make some new friends and interact and socialize, and while the mom gets to do the same thing or take that next job opportunity or time to interview or whatever the case is.
That's good to hear that there is a progression and that you feel people are more open to it. I know that you are an inspiration for others around you who see all that you've done, and they have kids too, and they want to start a business, like WeSo's encouraged. They want to move up in their career like you have, but then they feel that tug of mom guilt, like maybe I shouldn't, maybe it'll mean more time away, maybe I'll miss some important milestone, maybe my kids will resent me later. What do you tell those mothers when I'm sure they come to you sometimes and they ask you those questions? What advice do you give them?
Well, I mean, I've had that conversation with people, and just like I mentioned, it's when it's not going to happen all at once. It's not going to happen at a specific time. You'll know, there is a certain time in a woman's life when they feel like, no, I can't miss this certain time. My youngest had a disability, had an issue and a disability, which required me to pick him up daily from daycare. So I had to lose my job because I had to say, this is what I'm able to do right now. And that wasn't something they were able to accommodate. So I've had to leave jobs because I knew what was most important was taking my son to get the help that he needed at that particular time. I would just let the woman know that they'll know, when they can not feel as much guilt. I'm not going to say that there isn't going to be any guilt when you're a mom, but they won't feel the intensity of the guilt when they feel it's right for them. Whether it's when their kids get older or when they feel more secure in the position that they're currently doing, or that they feel that there's going to be, you know, another, you know, opportunity available to them. You know, it's all about timing and just really going with your gut of knowing what's best for you and your family. I'm not one to just kind of be pushed into something. It's like things will happen as they're supposed to, you know, and it's easier said than done for some, you know, but in my instance, I just always say what should happen will happen when it needs to. And for them to really, you know, look internally to understand, like, if they do one thing, how is it going to affect everything else? And to just not be so hard on themselves and feel like they're missing out on the world. Like, it'll still be there. It, you know, you're more than just a worker. You're a mother, and
you're
so-
more than just a mother.
Exactly.
You're a, you know, a woman with a great career trajectory.
Correct.
That maybe is going to, you know, push and pull at different times. You made work fit your life.
Right.
And you tried to make that particular job fit your life, and when it didn't, you didn't lose your career, right? You had to find another job, but your career kept going because you knew that work has to fit life. And I think so many more people nowadays are looking for that. And that's what we want to help you to be inspired to do, is make work fit your life. If you love your work, continue your work. You love your kids, be with your kids. You can't have everything all the time, but you can make them fit together when you know how to prioritize. And I thank you for sharing that story and just the whole essence of you, of really being in that balanced place. And you know, if you found this conversation on women and work helpful, inspiring, or just refreshing for shining a light on some of the messy parts of life, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, share it with a friend. And if you want to invest in a solution to the childcare crisis, you can reach out to me, Diane at momsub.com, about the MomSub Equity Crowdfunding Campaign, or connect with MomSub on LinkedIn or other social media platforms. Remember, your career, your choices, and your success are yours to define. Keep pushing boundaries and spreading your love and encouragement to other women who need it.